Every year, cruise ships around the world serve more than 30 million meals at sea, where each dish is not just a luxury experience, but the result of a massive system operating in isolation, surrounded by open water. But have you ever wondered how such a complex system actually works? The journey begins on land, where ingredients are selected, calculated, and prepared like a large-scale logistical operation. Once the ship sets sail, everything shifts into a closed-loop system. Tens of thousands of meals must be delivered continuously, on time, and to exact standards, where even the smallest mistake can trigger a domino effect across the entire operation. Today, join Agriculture Insight as we step behind the kitchens at sea, where food is not just an art, but a massive logistical equation running silently in the middle of the ocean. Before the ship even leaves port, a massive resupply operation has already taken place in silence. Within just a few hours, hundreds of tons of food are loaded on board, from meat and seafood to fresh produce and tens of thousands of loaves of bread. On megaships spanning up to 24,000 square meters, this means everything must be calculated with near-perfect accuracy from the very beginning. There's no supermarket in the middle of the ocean, no option to order more when supplies run low. Even a small miscalculation of just a few percent can throw the entire system into chaos. On deck, refrigerated containers aren't simply lifted on board. They are precisely positioned within a tightly coordinated system. Forklifts move along pre-programmed routes, and supplies are sorted and distributed layer by layer, from deep freeze storage to fresh food sections, all with timing measured down to the second. Many people think a cruise ship only has a single restaurant, but in reality, it's an entire culinary city with dozens, even hundreds of options, representing cuisines from Asia to Europe. And in the first part of this journey, we step into the busiest place of all, the breakfast buffet, where over 6,000 passengers can dine within just a few hours each morning. Right behind the serving area, everything begins with near-perfect precision. Fruits like pineapple, watermelon, and apples are washed, cut, and rapidly chilled, ready to become perfectly portioned servings down to the gram. Leafy greens are carefully cleaned and sanitized, because even the smallest mistake could affect a system serving thousands of people. Then, the live kitchen starts its performance. Eggs are cracked continuously onto hot griddles, transforming within seconds into hundreds of freshly cooked servings. Just behind that, rows of sausages and bacon sizzle on steel surfaces, producing massive amounts of smoke and grease every hour. Yet strangely, you can barely smell a thing. All the air is instantly extracted by an industrial ventilation system worth over $5 million, capable of completely replacing the kitchen's air within minutes. And when you stand at the buffet, everything seems simple. A plate of salad, a fried egg, a few slices of bacon, and hundreds of neatly arranged dishes. But behind it all is a machine that never stops, where every tiny detail is controlled like in an industrial factory. Beyond the buffet, luxury cruise ships always feature a space that has become truly iconic, the steakhouse, where chefs showcase their craftsmanship while also generating some of the highest revenue on board. From the moment it's loaded onto the ship, the meat isn't simply kept cold. Instead, it's stored in a multi-level refrigeration system, maintained at a stable temperature of around 2 degrees Celsius, ensuring it remains in optimal condition at all times. The thawing process is tightly controlled, fast enough to keep up with the continuous pace of operations, yet precise enough to preserve the integrity of the meat's fibers. Seasoning is kept minimal to retain the meat's natural flavor, while also ensuring consistency across thousands of servings, a defining standard of a high-end steakhouse at sea. From there, the meat enters the cooking stage, where industrial-grade ovens at temperatures of up to 400 degrees Celsius quickly create a beautifully seared crust on the outside, while locking in tenderness and natural juices inside. When sliced open, the steak reveals a perfect medium or medium rare center, a clear reflection of precision and excellence in every single plate. On billion-dollar mega cruise ships, there is one kitchen that is never replaced: the Italian restaurant. Not because it serves the best cuisine in the world, but because it's the least disliked. When a single pizza can satisfy up to 95% of passengers, and pasta becomes an almost universally safe choice. Unlike any kitchen on land, cooking pasta at sea begins with a familiar step, but executed very differently. The pasta is cooked slightly beyond the usual standard, not to improve taste, but to stabilize its structure, prevent breakage, and reduce microbial risk when it needs to be held hot for hours. At the same time, sauces are not made by instinct, but measured down to the gram. Seasoning is intentionally minimal, designed to suit dozens of nationalities, and when pressure peaks, hundreds of pasta portions can be completed in just 3 to 5 minutes. Built on this logic of stability, speed, low risk, the entire Italian kitchen operates like a continuous production line that cannot afford interruption. From there, pizza becomes the next critical link, and a system that never sleeps. Even at 2 or 3 a.m., when the decks fall silent, the ovens remain blazing. On these mega ships, as many as 2,000 to 5,000 pizzas can be produced each day, more than many large pizzerias on land. There is no such thing as frozen and reheated. The dough is proofed and tempered according to the ship's operational rhythm, then hand-stretched in seconds to form a stable, air-retaining crust, because even this variation can affect texture when the ship subtly shifts with the waves. Sauce, cheese, and toppings are portioned with near-perfect precision, ensuring every pizza comes out identical, whether you're in the middle of the Atlantic or the Pacific. Finally, the pizzas are fired in high-temperature ovens, where in just a few minutes, each one emerges hot, fragrant, and ready to be served. While Italian restaurants feed the entire ship, Japanese restaurants are reserved for a select few, yet represent true refinement. On mega cruise ships from Royal Caribbean or Norwegian Cruise Line, sushi isn't made for the masses. It's an ultra-premium experience. Unlike any restaurant on land, the journey of a piece of sushi at sea begins with deep freezing, followed by carefully controlled thawing, typically at temperatures between 9 to 20 degrees Celsius and minus 35 degrees Celsius, to eliminate parasite risks. But that's only the foundation. When salmon, tuna, or mackerel are brought out for preparation, the process becomes truly exacting. Each fillet is deboned, skinned, trimmed of oxidized parts, and inspected for elasticity and color with near-perfect precision. Salmon must retain its smooth, glossy fat layers. Tuna requires a clean, vibrant red without dark spots. Mackerel must be processed quickly to prevent any change in aroma. This entire process takes place within a strict temperature zone of around 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, where the fish maintains its ideal structure without crossing into unsafe conditions. And only when an order is placed is the fish sliced, paired with rice, within 30 to 60 seconds, or rolled immediately to preserve its perfect texture. Beyond standard service, there are also live sushi stations prepared right in front of guests, as well as conveyor belt sushi systems, ensuring speed, variety, and consistent freshness at all times. In contrast to the quiet precision and near-total silence of the Japanese restaurant, on the very same ship exists a completely opposite world: the Korean restaurant, the loudest place on board. Here, you might not dine alone, but be seated with strangers, grouped together, to start the experience with games, laughter, and a resounding "gunbae" cheers, echoing like the button that kicks off the entire feast. But before the laughter and the aroma of grilled meat fill the air, everything begins behind the kitchen doors, where every detail is standardized with near-perfect precision. The meat used for Korean barbecue, typically pork belly or beef short ribs, is selected for its balanced fat-to-lean ratio, then sliced to a thickness of around 3 to 5 millimeters, thin enough to cook quickly, yet thick enough to remain juicy on the grill. Few would believe you could grill meat in the middle of the ocean without turning the entire ship into a smoke chamber, but it's been engineered to perfection. At the table, each seat becomes a mini grill station, equipped with a powerful built-in ventilation system and heat control, stabilized at around 220 degrees Celsius. The moment the meat hits the grill, it sizzles instantly. Fat renders and coats the surface, while smoke is extracted almost immediately. You see the flames, hear the grilling, yet you're sitting inside a system so precisely designed that you can finish your meal without carrying the smell of smoke at all. And the experience doesn't stop at barbecue. It expands into a cascade of dishes that make it impossible to put your chopsticks down. Korean fried chicken is coated in multiple layers of batter, fried at 170 to 180 degrees until the crust shatters with crispiness, then glazed with glossy sweet spicy gochujang sauce or honey garlic. Japchae is stir-fried quickly over high heat, the glass noodles turning translucent, chewy, and lightly coated in sesame oil. And kimbap follows a clean, efficient process. Fluffy rice, thin sheets of seaweed, neatly layered fillings tightly rolled, then sliced into perfectly even rounds that already look authentic at first glance. If Korean cuisine is a celebration of sound and fire, and Japanese dining embodies precision and silence, then Chinese cuisine on board becomes an explosive culinary production line, where everything operates with the speed, heat, and scale needed to feed an entire ship right in the middle of the ocean. When people think of Chinese food, they imagine bubbling hot pots, red broths boiling with oil, and that numbing, spicy kick that hits straight to the brain. But at sea, things simply can't run that way. Open flames must be controlled, smoke must disappear instantly, and risk must be kept near zero, which is why dumplings and roast duck become the true ace cards. Behind the kitchen doors, dumplings are no longer handcrafted one by one, but transformed into a near-industrial process. In a single shift, 3,000 to 5,000 dumplings can be produced, with fillings mixed in large batches, typically ground pork, napa cabbage, ginger, and scallions. And what about Peking duck? There are no charcoal ovens, no 48-hour air drying as you might expect. Instead, sealed ovens precisely control temperature and humidity, usually around 200 to 230 degrees Celsius, allowing the skin to stay crisp and the meat succulent, while the entire process is tamed to suit a constantly moving ship. And that's when you realize this is no longer traditional Chinese cuisine, but a version engineered and optimized to survive and operate flawlessly in the middle of the ocean. Finally, we arrive at the pastry and ice cream kitchen, where sweetness is run like a massive production line. Each day, the bakery produces up to 2,000 to 3,000 loaves of bread. Hundreds of kilograms of dough are mixed, and thousands of eggs are whipped to create everything from simple pastries to premium desserts. Every step is tightly controlled to ensure consistent texture, flavor, and quality, even as the ship moves. Fruit desserts are prepared in continuous batches using strawberries, grapes, oranges, and more, always timed to maintain freshness without interruption. And then there's the ice cream, always ready, almost non-stop. Produced in high-capacity systems and stored under strict temperature control, it's served nearly 24/7. Behind every scoop is a carefully calibrated process to keep the texture smooth and stable. On a cruise ship, sweetness isn't just dessert. It's a fully engineered system, one that, just like everything else on board, never stops. Because every meal is directly tied to discipline and security, any error is eliminated at the earliest stage of the operational chain. From 5 a.m., before anyone steps into the kitchen, before a single pot is set on the flame, the first battle of a military meal begins with the ingredients. Preparing food for a military dining facility is no different from a covert logistics operation. Every kilogram is precisely calculated, refrigerated containers are hoisted straight onto ship decks, forklifts move in fixed formations, where logistics operates like a silent tactical mission. And from this logistics line, the ingredients move straight into the first kitchen of the military meal production facility, the vegetable and fruit prep station. Here, every portion begins to be standardized for large-scale service, with one single objective: on time, absolutely safe, and completely uniform. Fruits such as pineapple, watermelon, cantaloupe, and kiwi are processed on specialized stainless steel tables, peeled, cubed, and rapidly chilled to preserve freshness, ready for fruit salads or side dishes and standard meal sets. For vegetable salads, the requirements are even stricter. Greens are not chosen for delicate flavor, but for their ability to withstand the pressure of a military kitchen. That is why lettuce and cabbage are always prioritized. They pass through multi-stage washing systems with circulating cold water, then are sorted for different types of salads. In a military meal, vegetables typically account for about 25 to 30% of the portion. Not because soldiers prefer eating greens, but because they need them to meet nutritional requirements. As the trays of salad are placed into cold storage, the soldier's meal enters its decisive stage. The kitchen immediately shifts tempo, transforming into a high-pressure production line where hot main dishes are handled with industrial-scale equipment, and time is measured down to the minute. Every movement must be absolutely precise, because this is the direct source of energy for the mission ahead. In military kitchens, meat is selected for stability rather than tenderness or rich flavor. Lean cuts with firm muscle structure are prioritized because they maintain their shape when cooked in large quantities and remain consistent even after multiple reheating cycles. Next, meat is rarely brought straight into the kitchen in a fresh state. Instead, it is deep chilled to below 2 degrees Celsius to control microbial growth and synchronize preparation timing for thousands of servings. In a demanding training environment, even a single batch of meat that turns out too dry or too tough can noticeably affect soldiers' morale. At the same time, the cutting process does not rely on human judgment, but on precision machinery to ensure that each portion delivers equivalent nutritional value. Every day, this system processes approximately 20 tons of meat, meaning that even a minor mistake at the prep stage can disrupt the entire production line and impact training schedules and mission readiness. In a military kitchen, steak is a cold but intelligent operational equation, where every decision serves the goal of feeding troops safely and on time. First, the meat is selected according to 3 clear criteria: stability, ease of control, and the ability to withstand large-scale cooking. Next, the thawing process takes place slowly over 60 minutes, helping preserve the muscle fiber structure while keeping microbial activity at the lowest possible level. The seasoning stage is then kept minimal, using only salt and basic spices because uniformity matters more than individual flavor when serving an entire unit. At the same time, steak in military kitchens is always cooked thoroughly, using industrial ovens or rapid searing methods, prioritizing absolute safety over culinary preference. The concept of medium rare has no place here, as the military does not accept even the smallest risk. Buffalo chicken becomes a rare exception. not because it is more luxurious than other dishes, but because it serves as a disguised morale booster for soldiers. This dish does not appear frequently, usually only about once a month, just enough to create a sense of novelty without disrupting nutritional discipline. And even when it does appear, military buffalo chicken is not the same as its civilian counterpart. The chicken is carefully pre-processed, then may be quickly fried to form a light crust, but is mostly oven-baked or steamed and finished on industrial griddles to ensure food safety at scale and maintain structure after hours of heat holding. The original version is rich in butter and heavy heat, but in the military, butter is significantly reduced to prevent heaviness, digestive discomfort, and interference with high-intensity physical activity, keeping the calorie count at around 450 per serving. The result is a dish that sounds indulgent, yet is calculated like everything else in the military. Familiar enough to lift morale, controlled enough to pose no risk. Buffalo chicken here is not meant to please the palate, but to remind soldiers that even within steel discipline, there are still moments that feel human. In military kitchens, pasta is the line saver when meat or vegetables run into problems, but the way it is prepared is anything but random. The noodles are boiled slightly softer than usual from the start to ensure microbial safety when serving large quantities under unstable conditions. They are then drained and kept warm, ready for assembly. At the same time, tomato sauce is prepared separately in high-capacity kettles, seasoned with strict restraint on salt and almost no monosodium glutamate, to avoid triggering thirst, since soldiers' water intake is always regulated. When it is time to serve, the pasta and sauce are combined or ladled together according to standardized portions. The technical preparation time for pasta is typically 3 times shorter than for other dishes, making it a flexible option when the kitchen line needs rapid adjustment. The result is not a delicious pasta dish, but one that is stable, safe, and provides sufficient energy to keep the entire unit operating on rhythm. Beyond pasta, sausages are not merely a convenient food. They are a kitchen contingency solution. When the main dish plan runs into trouble, sausages can be plated quickly, while still providing sufficient energy for the entire unit. For that reason, many military kitchens do not rely entirely on prepackaged products, but produce sausages in-house under internal standards to maintain control over quality and service tempo. The cook begins with chilled ground meat, then blends it with seasonings according to a fixed formula to ensure uniformity across production batches. The mixture is stuffed into casings, filled evenly to prevent air pockets, and twisted into precisely measured lengths. Because ground meat is considered high risk, temperature, timing, and hygiene are monitored with extreme strictness. Even a minor deviation can require the entire batch to be discarded. At mealtime, the sausages are grilled or seared for color, then placed directly into hot dogs or served on meal trays. A large kitchen can process around 1,000 sausages in a single shift, enough to bring the entire production line back on rhythm. Once thoroughly cleaned, the potatoes are boiled in water until fully cooked. This method allows each tuber to cook evenly from the inside out without becoming mushy or losing its structure. They are then transferred to high-capacity industrial mashers, where they are blended into a smooth, uniform consistency with precisely measured seasoning, enough to provide flavor without causing heaviness or excessive thirst during high-intensity physical activity. Each day, a military kitchen can process up to 5 tons of potatoes, equivalent to roughly 40,000 portions served consistently and on schedule. Thanks to their ability to retain heat, resist drying out, and remain easy to digest, mashed potatoes become the quiet backbone of the meal tray. A simple dish, yet resilient enough to sustain the energy rhythm of an entire unit throughout a full day of training. Fish is a primary source of omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, nutrients that are nearly absent in red meat. These fatty acids help reduce muscle inflammation after high-intensity physical activity, support joint recovery, and are especially important for neurological function, maintaining focus, reaction speed, and emotional stability under prolonged stress. In sleep-deprived training environments, omega-3s also help limit cognitive decline and slowed response times, factors that could lead to tactical errors. In the military, eating safety is just as critical as nutrition. In the past, serious incidents have occurred due to choking on fish bones, which is why fish selection and processing are strictly controlled. Varieties such as cod, salmon, and pollock are preferred for their firm texture, minimal small bones, and suitability for large-scale preparation. The fish is carefully filleted, then typically fried until crisp or pan-seared for 10 to 15 minutes to maintain structural stability and reduce risk when consumed quickly during tight service windows. On the tray, fish is paired with salad or steamed vegetables to maintain nutritional balance. In the bakery section of a military kitchen, scale and precision are prioritized above all else. Not for display, but for operational stability. Every hour, thousands of soft bread rolls, simple pastries, and nutritional biscuits can be produced. Familiar items that are easy to store and well-suited to large-scale rations. Rather than elaborate, decorative baked goods, the kitchen focuses on white bread, whole grain bread, and low-cream pastries to ensure longer satiety and easier digestion. Despite not leading global rice production like Thailand or Vietnam, Japan stands out with premium varieties such as Koshihikari, valued for their exceptional stickiness, subtle aroma, and natural sweetness. The journey of creating glossy rice grains begins with meticulous care right from the sowing stage. Instead of direct seeding into flooded fields, farmers use standardized plastic trays filled with loose, nutrient-rich soil. Once the seeds germinate, seedlings are evenly distributed at precisely controlled densities to ensure ideal growing space. During their first weeks of life, young rice seedlings are strictly protected like in mini greenhouses by covering the fields with white plastic sheets. This layer stabilizes temperature and humidity, allowing the seedlings to grow healthily despite cold winds. When the time is right, the root systems intertwine tightly to form a solid mat, enabling farmers to lift entire sections of seedlings without damaging a single root. Next, these seedling mats are loaded onto automatic rice transplanters. The machine separates each small clump and inserts it into the mud at a precise spacing of 30 centimeters per row. Straight-line planting helps optimize air circulation, ensure even sunlight exposure, and reduce pests and diseases. Although not a rice superpower when it comes to automatic rice transplanters, Japan is currently one of the world's leaders in technology and mechanization. A Japanese rice transplanter, represented by models such as Yanmar, can handle at least 1 to 1.5 hectares per day, working 10 times faster than manual transplanting, a method still commonly used in countries such as Vietnam and India. After about 150 days, when the fields turn golden, modern combine harvesters move in. Compared to combine harvesters used in the United States, Brazil, or Australia, Japanese machines are much smaller, with a capacity of only about 1/5. Yet this compact size is precisely their advantage, allowing them to operate flexibly on Japan's small, fragmented, and soft field terrain. These machines perform a closed-loop process, cutting the rice, threshing the grains, and bagging them directly in the field, while simultaneously chopping straw and returning nutrients to the soil. As a result, a single machine can harvest and thresh 1 hectare of rice in under 3 hours, replacing the labor of dozens of workers. While Thai jasmine rice, widely regarded as the gold standard of Asian rice, sells for around $2 per kilogram, Premium Japanese rice is often priced at over $20 per kilograms, distinguished by its plump, round grains, high stickiness, and the ability to retain a rich natural sweetness even after cooling. Many people think grapes should be soft and juicy, but Shine Muscat, a premium peony grape from Okayama, the sunniest and least rainy region in Japan, features a firm, jelly-like crunch and a sweetness reaching 20 degrees Brix, about 1.5 times higher than ordinary grapes. The secret of Japanese farmers lies in calculated sacrifice. From the moment the vines begin to flower, they prune ruthlessly, allowing each branch to retain only a single best grape cluster, forcing the plant to channel all the nutrients, sugars, and essence, originally meant for dozens of other clusters, into one single entity. Not stopping there, they continue to hand-thin each small grape within the cluster, ensuring enough space for the remaining grapes to grow large without being crowded, while allowing air and sunlight to reach every gap. Not only that, each Shine Muscat grape cluster is wrapped in a special paper bag while still on the vine to block insects, harsh UV rays that can scorch the skin, and even rain droplets that may cause mold. This is precisely why Japanese Shine Muscat grapes have smooth, glossy skins that can be eaten directly, without bitterness or chemical residue. When harvest time arrives, instead of cutting in bulk, farmers measure the sugar content of each individual cluster using handheld meters. Only those that meet the standard are allowed to be picked. Each grape cluster is carefully handled and harvested entirely by hand, like a living piece of jewelry. Farmers use specialized scissors to cut each stem with absolute precision, avoiding any movement that could damage the delicate skin. Once picked, every cluster is immediately placed into a cushioned tray to preserve its perfect shape and natural gloss. There is no mass harvesting, no stacking, only meticulous care at every step. With the enormous labor costs involved in meticulous hand cultivation, each premium Shine Muscat grape cluster can fetch $100 to $200 at auctions or in high-end supermarkets. Leaving the mainland behind, seafood has become the second front through which Japan has built a luxury empire worth around $2.5 billion annually, turning the country into one of Asia's leading sanctuaries for high-end seafood. Among more than 400 commercial seafood species, bluefin tuna dominates the premium segment, making it the most sought-after ingredient in the world of sushi and sashimi. The otoro, the fattiest cut from the belly of a top-grade bluefin tuna, can be priced at $30,000 to $50,000, comparable to a luxury sedan such as a Mercedes-Benz E-Class, and sometimes even higher at early-year auctions. Traditionally, bluefin tuna are caught during the winter season, concentrated in the northern Pacific Ocean, using methods such as hand-line fishing or long-line fishing to preserve meat quality. However, in response to rising global demand and the growing risk of depleting natural stocks, offshore bluefin tuna farms have emerged, with Japan being one of the pioneering countries. These kings of the ocean are raised in massive circular cages in deep waters, where currents, oxygen levels, temperature, and feeding regimes are strictly controlled. Automated feeding systems precisely distribute feed, allowing the fish to grow evenly and achieve an ideal fat ratio. Thanks to advanced offshore aquaculture technology, Japan produces more than 10,000 tons of farmed bluefin tuna each year, with an estimated value of at least $700 million, securing the country's position as the world's #1 producer of farmed bluefin tuna in the global luxury seafood segment. At the auction floor, each bluefin tuna is assigned an identification number to precisely trace its origin, weight, and fishing vessel. The fish are then moved into a deep-chilled auction hall, where seasoned traders assess quality solely by meat color, fat marbling, and firmness before placing bids through subtle hand signals. The highest record ever set was a bluefin tuna sold for 333.6 million yen, approximately 3.1 million USD in Tokyo. Once the auction concludes and the fish belongs to the winning buyer, master tuna cutters immediately begin breaking down the fish the same night, separating each cut with absolute precision to preserve freshness, texture, and maximum value. Leaving behind the heart-pounding auctions at the harbor, we return to land to encounter Japan's culinary national treasure, Wagyu beef, a type of meat known for its painting-like marbling and aristocratic care process. The high price of this beef, especially the top-grade A5, stems from a feeding cycle that lasts twice as long as industrial cattle. It takes at least 30 months to reach full maturity in marbling structure. Throughout this period, the cattle's diet is fully personalized, consisting of a nutrient-rich blend of grains, rice straw, and soybean pulp. Notably, to prevent stress, an element that can toughen meat and reduce fat quality, farmers raise the cattle in an environment of absolute calm. At some traditional Wagyu farms, particularly during summer, farmers give cattle small amounts of beer to stimulate appetite. Alongside this, manual massage is used as a stress reduction method, helping fat distribute more evenly within the muscle fibers. A cow is allowed to leave the farm only when it reaches 700 to 800 kilograms and passes one of the strictest grading systems in the world. Only meat with a perfect fat-to-lean ratio, vivid red color, and glossy texture earns the A5 stamp. Wagyu fat melts at around 25 degrees Celsius, lower than human body temperature, creating the sensation of meat melting on the tongue with a delicate aroma. Each cow has its own birth certificate, with a unique nose print to trace its lineage, and the most expensive cuts, such as ribeye and tenderloin, are served at luxury teppanyaki restaurants or exported to the United States and Europe at prices of 500 to 1,000 USD per kilogram, making Wagyu a true symbol of Japanese luxury. For decades, onion harvesting by hand, usually taking place from August to October, demanded hundreds of workers to pull, gather, and transport each bulb out of the field. The arrival of the first rear-mounted onion harvesters changed that. With a simple digging blade and a vibrating screen, they could lift the bulbs from the soil, remove excess dirt, and lay them neatly in rows. These machines are still common in the Netherlands, China, and India, where many farms remain small to medium in scale. However, the major limitation was that onions remained on the ground, requiring manual collection. To solve this, the next generation, harvesters with high elevators, was developed. They not only lifted and cleaned the onions more effectively, but also transferred them directly into trailers or trucks driving alongside. This continuous flow saved enormous amounts of labor and time, and such machines are widely used today in Western Europe, the United States, and Canada, where fields can stretch across tens or even hundreds of hectares. At an even larger scale, multifunctional trailed harvesters from companies like DeWolf and Simon pushed efficiency further. These machines added advanced leaf cutting and soil separating systems, delivering cleaner onions straight from the field and reducing the workload for post-harvest handling. The pinnacle of this evolution is the self-propelled onion harvester. Operating independently without a tractor, these giants feature comfortable operator cabins, GPS navigation, and precision sensors. Modern models such as the DeWolf Enduro or Grimm SE series can process 50 to 70 tons of onions per hour, replacing the labor of hundreds of workers. Each year, the world produces over 100 million tons of onions, with India alone consuming more than 20% of global output. Altogether, the onion industry generates over $40 billion US annually, a striking demonstration of its immense economic value and the role of mechanized harvesting in sustaining this demand. Gone are the familiar images of farmers holding handheld sprayers. Today, it is the autonomous sprayers that are redefining the future of modern agriculture. Across vast green fields, the John Deere See & Spray Ultimate extends its massive spray booms, gliding with centimeter-level precision. Equipped with advanced cameras, sensors, and artificial intelligence, it can detect individual weeds among thousands of crops, targeting only the areas that require treatment and reducing the use of pesticides by up to 90%. Its vision system is so advanced that it can scan up to 4,000 frames per second while operating at speeds of up to 15 miles per hour, ensuring unparalleled accuracy even across massive fields. Beyond cutting costs and protecting the environment, this breakthrough elevates farming into a high-tech industry where robots and AI replace backbreaking labor, delivering a level of efficiency never before seen in the history of cultivation. So, are you ready to invest $500,000 to $700,000 to own this cutting-edge machine? Seen from above, the rice field in spring in Japan looks like a giant canvas, where the machine quietly draws perfectly straight lines across the watery surface. The modern Yanmar rice transplanter eliminates the back-breaking labor of manual planting by automatically inserting young seedlings into the field, completely replacing traditional hand planting methods that once consumed so much time and effort. What makes this machine remarkable is its integration with a GPS satellite navigation system, allowing operation with centimeter-level precision. As a result, every row of rice is planted in flawless alignment, evenly spaced, and at consistent depth, minimizing both gaps and overlaps. In practice, a single Yanmar rice transplanter can cover 0.5 to 1 hectare per hour, up to 8 to 10 times faster than manual labor. During operation, the farmer only needs to steer and reload seedling trays at the back, while all movement, adjustments, and planting are fully automated. The synergy of precise engineering and smart satellite technology not only saves time and reduces labor costs, but also boosts productivity and crop quality, marking a new milestone in the modernization of agriculture. After 4 to 5 months of waiting for the rice to ripen, farmers in Japan usually rely on small Kubota combine harvesters. These compact machines are light, agile, and perfectly suited to the narrow plots and fragmented terrain of traditional Asian farming. But in the United States and Europe, the scale has been raised to an entirely new level. On vast open fields, giants like John Deere, Case IH, New Holland, and Claas operate with cutter bars stretching dozens of meters. Their mechanism works like a massive harvest line. The cutter slices the stalks, the threshing drum separates the grains, the fan and sieve system cleans away husks and straw, and the kernels are unloaded through an auger into a trailer moving alongside. Meanwhile, the straw is chopped and spread evenly back onto the field. This extraordinary efficiency, 40 to 50 tons per hour, harvesting hundreds of hectares in just a few days, is what has transformed the United States into a true agricultural superpower, far beyond the smaller machines of Asia. Hundreds of giant white snakes, stretched endlessly across the fields, are in fact grain baggers, modern machines that revolutionize grain storage in 21st century farming. After harvest, corn, wheat, or soybeans are poured into the hopper, where a powerful auger compacts the kernels and pushes them deep into massive polyethylene bags. These bags can stretch 60 to 75 meters long and hold up to 250 tons of grain, the equivalent of a full-size silo right there in the field. Together, these three crops account for more than 2.3 billion tons produced globally each year, making grain baggers an indispensable solution for handling such vast quantities. No longer forced into a post-harvest rush, farmers in the US, Canada, and Argentina now turn their fields into sprawling mobile warehouses, a striking symbol of modern agricultural innovation. If this machine had existed 70 years ago, European farmers would not have had to spend months digging drainage ditches by hand. Today, in fields with heavy clay soils or areas prone to flooding, poor drainage can easily wipe out entire crops. To solve this, subsurface drainage machines like this are used. At their core is a massive plow blade mounted on a tracked chassis, capable of cutting 0.8 to 1.5 meters deep into the ground. As the machine advances, it simultaneously opens the soil and lays perforated PVC or PE pipes underground. Behind the machine, a large coil of pipe is gradually fed into the trench, which is then immediately backfilled, creating a hidden network of underground drains across the field. This system removes excess water after heavy rains while maintaining balanced soil moisture for crops. High up in the rolling hills of Europe, where steep and rugged terrain makes grass cutting with heavy machinery almost impossible, these compact drum mowers have become the perfect solution. Equipped with two cylindrical drums fitted with dozens of sharp blades, the machine spins at high speed to neatly slice through thick layers of grass, leaving behind evenly cut swaths. In just 1 hour of operation, a single unit can process 4,000 to 5,000 square meters of grass, a performance far beyond that of traditional handheld mowers. When started, the rotating drums generate strong friction combined with the cutting blades, creating a forward-driving force that allows the mower to move on its own without being pushed by the operator. Weighing only about 100 kilograms, its lightweight frame and flexible wheels make it easy to work even on steep slopes or terraced fields. Thanks to its mobility and impressive efficiency, this machine has become an indispensable workhorse for dairy, beef, and sheep farms, with a price of about $6,500. If you think the machine before your eyes looks like a giant clay-shaping press, you are mistaken. The peat harvester is a specialized machine designed to cut, crush, and collect peat, a vital resource used in energy production, organic fertilizers, and soil improvement. A massive cutting disc at the front digs deep into the peat layer, while the mechanical system grinds and compresses it into uniform cylindrical blocks. These blocks are then laid out in long rows across the field to dry naturally under the sun before being collected and transported. With its sturdy build and oversized tires, the tractor can freely frolic on soft, waterlogged ground without worrying about getting stuck, as if it were taking a mud bath. A modern peat harvester is capable of processing tens of tons of peat each day, leaving behind endless rows of neatly formed blocks stretching across the landscape. Across vast hazelnut orchards, the harvest usually takes place from late August to early October, with Turkey leading global production at around 800,000 tons per year, followed by Italy and the United States. Harvesting each tiny hazelnut by hand from the ground is extremely time and labor intensive, which is why modern hazelnut harvesters like this have become the ideal solution. At the front, the machine is equipped with rotating sweep discs that continuously gather hazelnuts scattered among dry leaves and grass. Immediately after, a powerful suction system transfers everything into the processing chamber, where leaves, twigs, and soil are separated out, leaving only clean hazelnuts. Each day, a single machine can harvest several tons of nuts, all collected into the large rear container, ready to be transported to processing facilities.